Welcome to the channel. It's T Money Magic. Today we're going to be coming at you with our set review of the blue cards in Lowryn Eclipsed. If you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe. It's going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to put the card on the screen. Beside the card, there's going to be a letter grade. An A means that it's a bomb. It's a card you're going to play every single time. A B is a card that you're going to be very happy to have in your deck. It's going to be one of those cards that might not close out the game, but you're going to want it in on your decks. A C is a card that's playable. You know, it'll fill out your curve. It'll make sure that you hit what you need to hit when you need to hit it. Some of them you'll cut, some of them you'll keep. A D is a situational card. It's a card that you pull out of your sideboard or very situational, only works in very particular decks or instances. And then an F is a card that's just unplayable and limited. And do keep in mind, this is just content for limited. I don't know how these cards are going to perform in other formats, so this is just going to be how I'm going to review them if you were to go down to your local game store on pre-release or during draft and draft these cards. The first card that we're looking at is Adequate Defenses. It is 2 mana. It's an enchantment aura. It has flash. It says enchant creature you control. When this aura enters, enchanted creature gains hexproof until end of turn. Enchanted creature gets +1/+2. I think this is a solid trick for blue. It's going to help blank removal, which is going to feel great. There's going to be times where you can use it offensively if you're trying to get in and just close out the game. But it's more going to be of a defensive card, which is kind of what you do in blue anyways. Or kind of like the cards that you wait around for and just kind of wait, you grind it out, and then you come away with the victory at the end. I think it's a solid common. It's going to fill out your deck, so it's a good card. Next, we have Blossom Bind. It is also 2 mana. It's also an enchantment aura. It says enchant creature. When this aura enters, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature can't become untapped, and it can't have counters put on it. So this card is interesting. It's a little situational. It's good. It is removal. It's interesting that you can't put counters on it. So I think it's going to work out nicely in this set because there's a lot of creatures that they already have counters on them, but you can remove those counters and then they do additional effects. So one of the biggest problems with these kind of cards that we've seen in the past is that, yeah, it taps them, but there's still a body out on the field, and whatever their activated abilities are, you can still activate them. This shuts off some of those activated abilities. Again, I still think, the creature does stick around. There are different cards in here that says untap target creature. So it kind of even if you think that you've removed the threat, there's other things that can make it, a threat again. It's going to be situational. It's very bottom tier removal. You'll play it when you have to. Next, we have Champions of Shoal. It is 4 mana. It's a Merfolk Soldier. It is a rare. It says, as an additional cost to cast the spell, behold a Merfolk and exile it. So behold Next up, we have Champions of Shoal. It is a 4 mana Merfolk Soldier. It says, as an additional cost to cast the spell, behold a Merfolk and exile it. So behold means that you have to either show it in your hand or it already has to be out in the battlefield and you have to exile it in this particular instance. So it says, whenever this creature enters or becomes tapped, tap up to 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it. When this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exile card to its owner's hand. I think this card is incredible. You're going to be very happy to play this in your Merfolk deck. You're going to be very happy to just play it in your blue-black grinder decks. It has a ton of value. It's overstated, which is why, probably the downside of the exile, but you're going to have so many of Merfolks laying around in the right deck anyways, it's not really going to matter. And the advantage it's going to give you is just massive because when you tap, you're not just tapping another creature, you're tapping it and putting a stun counter on it. So that effectively removes it for 2 turns. And then you can do the same effect again the next turn with another creature. This card's going to snowball very quickly. And the fact that it's only 4 mana, it's honestly a discount even with the exile ability. I don't see any situation in which you're not going to be extremely happy to have this card. Next, we have Disruptor of Currents. It is 5 mana. It's a Merfolk Wizard. It has Flash and Convoke. Convoke means creatures can help you cast the spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell can either pay for 1 or 1 mana of that creature's color. It says when this creature enters, return up to 1 other target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So this is a very solid card. 5 mana, just imagine, so always look at these as okay, what's the floor? So the floor is it's a 5 mana 3/3 that when it enters, it bounces something that your opponent has. That alone can be a huge tempo play. Yeah, paying 5 mana for a 3/3 is not the best thing in the world, but the fact that it bounces something else and you can flash it in makes it way better. And then on top of that, the fact that you can convoke this out. So there's a world in which you have no open mana and your opponent thinks that they have a free swing, and then you just cast this and completely wreck them and get great defense out of it. Ambush people. I think this is a very solid card. You're going to be very happy to play it, particularly in the Merfolk deck. Next, we have Flittering Nuisance. It is 1 blue. It's a fairy rogue. It's got flying. It says this creature enters with a -1/-1 counter on it. You can pay 3 or 2 generic and a blue and remove a counter from this creature. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw a card. So a 1 mana, 1/1 flying is already like, that's a playable card. You're going to be happy with that. And then the fact that like the very next turn, or well, not the very next turn, but 2 turns later, if you have nothing else to do, you can remove it, probably get in with a free swing and with the 2/2 at that, and then you get to draw a card off of it. That's massive. I like that it also accounts for planeswalkers. You know, there's not a ton in this set, but you know, it is nice that like you can attack their planeswalker and you're probably going to have an easier time getting through with flyers than you would on the ground. Makes it a very solid card. You're going to be happy to have this in your deck. Next, we have Glamour Gifter. It is 2 mana. It's a fairy wizard. It has flash and flying. When this creature enters, choose up to 1 other target creature. Until end of turn, that creature has base power and toughness 4/4 and gains all creature types. This is a great 2-drop. So even if, like, let's say that you have no other creatures, so then you don't get the ability because it says choose up to 1 other target creature, so it can't target itself. You're still going to be happy to lay this down on turn 2 on your opponent's turn, especially if you're in blue, because you're helping to create like the illusion that you have like, you know, some sort of counter spell up or something like that. You can really kind of throw your opponents off balance. And then even if it just comes in and it's a 2 mana 1/2 with flying, that's still like a solid turn 2 play. And the fact that it has so much upside to it makes it even better. I think this is a great card. You're going to be very happy to have it. Next up, we have Glamour Might. It is 3 mana. It's a fairy rogue. It has flash and flying. It says when this creature enters, choose 1. Tap target creature, untap target creature. This is a solid card. 3 mana 2/2 flyer is a little below rate, but the fact that it has flash makes it a lot better. You can either use it late to kind of ambush something by untapping one of your creatures, or you can use it early to maybe stop like your opponent who might have gone first, who might be having better advantage than you, to kind of tap down their creature and get back at parity with them. I think this is a very solid card. You're going to be very happy to have it. Next, we have Glen Elandra Guardian. It's for 3 mana. It's a fairy wizard. It also has flash and flying. So we're going to see a theme of flash here. So this creature enters with a -1/-1 counter on it. You can pay 1 and a blue and remove a counter from this creature. Counter target non-creature spell. Its controller draws a card. I think blue is going to end up with a lot of really strong cards. Like the fact that we've seen so many that already have flying and flash, like having flying and just being evasive and being at such consistent, like low mana cost creatures are going to be huge. This card's going to feel great. It's going to come in as a 3 mana 2/3, which is already solid stat lines. And then the fact that you can grow it, and not only when you do decide to grow it, but you're countering a target non-creature spell. I mean, yeah, like your opponent gets to like draw a card off of it. There's also a world, and like this is going to be very narrow. It probably won't count them up too often, but you can get pretty cute with this, where like you counter your own spell because like it's not something that you need, and you just want something like you just want like to draw another card off of it. You know, that'll happen a lot less often. Hopefully, it's happening a lot less often because that's not really what you're going to be doing with this card. But the option's there. So I think it's really flexible. It's a great static creature. The fact that it is flying and is going to be a 3/4 eventually at only 3 mana is huge. You're going to play this card every time. Sweet. Next, we have Glen Elandra's Answer. It is 4 mana, including 2 of it in blue. It's an instant, as this spell can't be countered. Counter all spells your opponent controls and all abilities your opponent control. Create a 1/1 blue and black fairy creature token with flying for each spell and ability countered this way. So this is an interesting card. You know, I don't know how good it's going to be in limited, but it is nice that it gives you a body. I think like being able to counter like a spell that also would trigger an ability from your opponent. So like if there was a world where it's like when a creature enters, this creature gets +1/+1 and you get to blank both the +1/+1 ability and that creature from entering, like that's going to feel really, really good. Holding up 4 mana and hoping that's what your opponent plans on doing is a whole nother thing. 4 mana to counter a spell is like kind of below rate. I mean, you do get a 1/1 body at the end of it, and there's a lot going on with like fairies and really all creature types. So, I mean, especially in like the blue, in blue. So, you know, I think it's going to be solid. I don't think it's going to be like backbreaking or anything to play against it. But I mean, when you do get a counter something, and especially if you can live in, you know, Christmas world where you get at least 2, you get to negate at least 2 different things going on, that's going to feel awesome. And like, if you're a true blue player, you're going to just be so giddy after that. So, you know, if you're a blue mage, have fun with this card in limited. Next, we have Gravel Gill Scoundrel. It is 2 mana. It's a Merfolk Rogue. It has Vigilance. It says whenever this creature attacks, you may tap another untapped creature you control. If you do, this creature can't be blocked this turn. We've seen this kind of card in other sets. I do think because there's so much going on with tapping with Merfolks in particular, it's going to be better than it would be otherwise. A 2 mana 1/3 is a great stat line. It makes it a very defensive creature, and the fact that it has Vigilance also means that you can swing on with it. So, I think it's a great common. You're going to play it in a lot of, especially in your Merfolk decks, you're going to play it. But even if you're not necessarily a Merfolk deck, you're still going to be really happy to have this, just because it's a great static card. Next, we have Harmonized Crescendo. It is 6 mana, including 2 in blue. It has Convoke, which once again means that your creatures can help cast this. If they're a blue creature, they can tap for one of the blue mana that you need. Otherwise, they can pay for one of the generic costs. It says choose a creature type, draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. Just so much synergy in this format. There's just so many cards. If you're in blue, you're either going to be fairies or Merfolk, and you can kind of choose which one you want to be more in. So yeah, I think it's better than it would be in a set that didn't have as much of the same type going on. There's a lot of changelings running around. It can basically be whatever you need it to be. The fact that you can get this for a discounted card, I actually think that you're going to play it more, and you're going to be pretty happy to play it, because it's just going to be really easy to get there's a world where you have 3 creatures, they're all the same type. You only pay 3 mana for this, and then you get 3 cards, and that's going to feel incredible. And it's going to be pretty easy to do in this set. So I think it's a much better card than it would be in most other sets. Next, we have Illusion Spinners. It is 5 mana. It is a fairy wizard. It says you may cast the spell as though it had flash if you control a fairy. It has flying. It says this creature has hexproof as long as it's untapped. I think this is a very solid card. The fact that you can flash it in and ambush something is huge. Clearly in the fairy set, there's a lot going on with flash and flying and things of that nature. You're going to have other fairies. It's going to be very easy to pull this off. There's so many things. Blue seems like it's going to be one of these colors that's really going to make people nervous, because there's going to be so many turns where you're just able to leave all your mana untapped and wait for your opponent to do something and just kind of respond. I think it's going to make playing against blue very frustrating, and it's going to make it to where when you're in blue, you're going to really, really like it. I think this is a great card. You're definitely going to want it in your fairy deck. But even if you don't really have a consistent fairy theme going on, there's a chance that you still end up with 1 or 2 just because of the color pair. And if you're able to, and even if you can't flash it in, it's definitely less good. But the fact that it's hexproof, as long as it's untapped, keeps it a threat in the air. You can swing in with it for lethal when you need it to and leave it back to block otherwise. I think it's a really solid card. Next, we have Plurath Mystic. It is 3 mana. It's an elemental wizard. It says whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, this creature gets +2/+0 and gains vigilance until end of turn. So this is kind of a sub theme particularly in the elemental blue-red deck, where if you cast something with mana value 4 or greater, it does something. In this case, it makes this a 4/4 and it gains vigilance. So being a 4/4 with vigilance is nice. You're definitely that's a card that you would really like. The problem is that in limited, you really want to be very mana efficient, and you want to have kind of a lower curve. So I don't know how many 4 or greater spells you could really afford to have in your deck, because we've just gotten to a point in Magic where if you don't have lower drop creatures that kind of help stabilize the board, you're not going to be able to even get to the 4 mana needed, because your opponent's just going to snowball you out. There is some pretty aggressive decks in this format. I think this card holds it back. I think the 4 value or greater in general in this set is going to be harder, and the fact that it's in blue and red. So usually when we see that effect, we see it in green. So there's ways to ramp. There's not even really good ways to ramp for this. So I just think it makes it a lot worse of a build around. But if you're in the right deck, it'll feel good. Next, we have Loshmare. It is for 2 mana. It's a horse serpent. It says this creature enters with 3 -1/-1 counters on it. You can pay 1 in a blue, remove a counter from this creature to draw a card. You can pay 2 in a blue, remove 2 counters from this card, tap target creature, put a stun counter on it. I think this card is incredible. So it's going to come down, and when it comes down, it's only going to be a 1/2. However, worst case scenario, if it's your 2-drop the next turn, let's say that you miss a land, you can pay 2 more to draw a card and hopefully draw into that land. If the next turn you do have your land, then you can go ahead and pay 3, and then you can start being aggressive because you're swinging in with the 3/4 on turn 3, and that's pretty massive. It's just a very flexible card. You're going to be happy to do either of the options. There's also a world where you have, the game's running late, you top deck this, and you have 8 mana lying around, and if you tap it the correct way, you're going to end up with this is a 2-mana card. That's a 4/5 that helps you draw 3 more cards. And that's going to feel very, very nice and limited. I think this card is excellent. You're going to take it every time and be very happy with it. Next, we have Lofty Dreams. It's 5 mana. 2 of that's in blue. It's an enchantment aura. It has Convoke. It says enchant a creature. When this aura enters, draw a card. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has flying. I think this is another really, really solid card. The fact that it replaces itself. So sometimes with auras, the biggest problem with them is that if you target a creature, then your opponent can just use a kill spell on it, and then you get nothing for it. This one has the potential to where you can make sure that your opponent's tapped out. You can tap it, ambush them because it gives your creature +2/+2, and you get to draw a card off of it. The fact that you can convoke it, you can even do it on their end step where they think that you don't have anything because all your mana might be tapped out, and then you're still able to get this off. It's going to feel really incredible. You're going to be happy with at least taking one of these and putting it into your deck. Next, we have Mirror Form. It is for 6 mana, including 2 in blue. It's an instant. It says each non-land permanent you control becomes a copy of target non-aura permanent. So how good is this card? I think it all depends. Again, you're going to need a board state to make it go off. Now, if you have a board state, let's say that one of those creatures happens to be a 4/5 or a 5/5 or something like that, and you can just swing in with a bunch of massive creatures, it's going to feel great. Especially if they have some sort of combat trigger or any other trigger, anything like that, that you're able to trigger off by changing them all to the same color or the same permanent. But there is also a world where, especially in blue, because blue is kind of super tempo-y anyways, where you only have 2 or 3 creatures, and maybe they're not all that big to begin with, and then it's going to feel less good. So I definitely think it's a build-around card. If you can get it in the right deck and you are able to get this off, you're just going to win the game, and that's going to feel incredible. But if you kind of are in more of the tempo blue stuff, or you have tinier things running around and you don't really have anything too great to copy, it's just going to feel like a dead card in your hand. Next, we have Noggle the Mind. It's for 2 mana. It's an aura. It's got flash. It says enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a colorless Noggle with base power and toughness 1/1. I think this is going to be solid, honestly, because a lot of times you're just going to be if your opponent swings in with a bigger creature and they think they have something good and you're holding up 2 mana, you're just going to flash it in on that creature to make it a 1/1, and then you'll be able to get rid of it. So I really think that's the only time it's really going to feel good. If you're ever doing this just because your opponent has a big creature and you want to turn it into a 1/1, I think it's going to feel a lot less good because it doesn't really, it's still a body that they can use to block and things like that. So I think this will be more of when your opponent's being aggressive and swinging in on you. It's a solid trick, so you'll take it. You'll be happy with it. Next up, we have Oko, Lorwyn Liege. It is 3 mana. It is a legendary planeswalker Oko. It says at the beginning of your first main phase, you may pay a green, and if you do, transform Oko. On this side, it says +2 up to 1 target creature gains all creature types, +1 target creature gets -2/-0 until your next turn. On the backside, it's Oko Shadowmoor Scion. It's also a legendary planeswalker Oko. At the beginning of your first main phase, you can play blue, and then you can transform Oko. It's -1, says mill 3 cards. You may put a permanent card from among those into your hand. It's -3, create 2 3/3 green elf creature tokens. And then it's -6, choose a creature type. You get an emblem with creatures you control of the chosen type. Get +3/+3, have vigilance and hexproof. This card is great. There's a world where you lay it down on its blue side because that's the side that it comes down on. And then, depending on what you're needing to do, I do think the up to 1 target creature gains all creature types. I think that's going to be less effective. But the +1 that lets your target creature get -2/-0 until your next turn, that's going to feel really, really good. It's just going to help you kind of stabilize if you're behind, and if you're ahead, it's going to feel even better because there's a world where you make their creature so small that you can swing out and there's nothing they can do about Oko the next turn. That's going to feel really good. When it gets to the backside, if you were to transform it and you need a creature card, you're going to be happy to mill to get that card. If you're already up and you plussed it the last time with the +1, you can then -3 and you still get to keep Oko around and you get 2 3/3 elks, which are huge. And then if you do get up to the -6 cost, you're just going to win the game. I mean, there's no coming back from that. There's just way too much synergy going on. There's going to be way too many creatures that have the same creature type, and it's just going to close out games. I think this is a great card. You're going to be very happy to play it in your green-blue decks. Next up, we have Omni Changeling. It's 5 mana, including 2 in blue. It's a shapeshifter changeling. It has Convoke. It says, you may have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it's a changeling. So, the Convoke makes this a lot better. Depending on what else you have on the board, you're going to be pretty happy with this. I mean, in blue, there's a ton of flyers running around, and like some of them are even pretty big for flyers. So like that's going to feel really good, especially if you get ones that like have additional abilities on top of that. This card is very interesting. I mean, I think it's a great card. You're going to be able to convoke to make it cost a lot less. So there's a world in where like you have a great flyer in the air, and then you can convoke this out and have two great flyers in the air. And I think that's really where it's going to shine. But you're going to be very happy to take this card. It's going to fit in any deck because it's a changeling. You'll take it, be happy. Next, we have Pestered Wallguard. It is 4 mana. It's a Merfolk Soldier. It says, whenever this creature becomes tapped, create a 1/1 blue and black fairy creature token with flying. So 4 mana 3/2 is pretty understated. I think there's a world in which there's other Merfolk that let you like tap an untapped creature, and that's going to really be where this shines because you're not really going to be swinging in with this. If you get to turn 4 and you're swinging in with this, chances are you're already going to win that game because your opponent's probably really behind if you're able to swing in with the 3/2 that's cost 4 mana and it not be an issue for them or for you to do that. So, that does hold this card back. But the fact that it spits out a token every single time it gets tapped, and there's so much convoke, and there's so many cards that just like let you tap an untapped creature, I do think it's going to synergize really well. I think it's a card because of the way that it's statted and it's so situational. You can get it even later, and that's going to make it feel better. Next, we have Rime Chill. It is 7 mana. It's an instant. It has Vivid. It says the spell costs 1 less to cast for each color among permanents you control. Tap up to 2 target creatures, put a stun counter on each of them, draw a card. So you all know how I feel about Vivid if you've watched my other 2 videos. I'm not really high on the mechanic. I think at most, though, like this is going to be like a 5 mana. So like 4 generic and a blue to tap 2 creatures, and then you get to draw a card. Not super great, but not terrible, honestly, just because of the tempo it creates, especially if your opponent only has 2 creatures anyways. Then it's going to feel good. I mean, I do think you're going to be fine. Like, this deck is going to get cut a lot of the times if you're only in 2 colors, but if you're in a 3-color deck, like splashing something, and you can somehow get this to only be 4 mana, like 3 in a blue generic, or 3 generic and a blue, and then you get to tap 2 creatures and draw a card, like that's going to feel incredible. I think it's a lot higher. Like I'm going to value this card a lot higher than other Vivid cards just because it replaces itself. And there's going to be a lot of times where like that's kind of the only upside of playing Vivid cards. So I'm a little bit higher on this one than the other ones. I still don't think Vivid's a great mechanic. I don't think there's enough synergy to really make it pop, but you're going to be happy playing this in a 2-color deck, or especially a 3-color deck if like you just need something to help fill out your curve. Next up, we have Rime Fire Torque. It is 2 mana. It's an artifact. It says this artifact enters, choose a creature type. Whenever a permanent you control of the chosen type enters, put a charge counter on this artifact. Remove 3 charge counters from this artifact when you next cast an instant sorcery spell. Copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. I don't think this card's very good at all in Limited. I mean, even with all this energy going on, it's a 2 mana card that does nothing for you the turn it comes down. There's a world where like you get it later and you're able to lay it down and then lay down another creature, and you can already go ahead and start getting the mechanic going. But even then, like it's so situational. I mean, how often are you going to have an instant or sorcery in your hand that you can then remove the charge counters? How often are you going to have the creatures to put them down to get the charge counters to where it needs to be? It's just not really playable in Limited. Next, we have Grimkin Recluse. It is 3 mana. It's an elemental wizard. It says when this creature enters, return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. So this is like the mana war of this particular set. There's always one of these in blue. How good is bouncing in this? I'm not sure. I mean, there is a lot of cards that a lot of cards that I'm seeing, they don't really have as many like enters abilities have we seen in the past. Like a lot of them actually come in with negative side effects to them because there's like the persist mechanic and the -1 counter mechanic. So, I'm not really sure how. I mean, I think it's a solid card. Like you're going to play it and you'll be fine with it. But like if you cut it, because there's just so much going on in blue, like there's so many tempo plays in blue. There's so many other ways to bounce that gives you a better creature or ways to tap things down. And then you don't have to worry about if they have an enters trigger. I think it's going to hold this card back from being like super insane. If you get in like a blue-red elemental deck, it's probably where it's going to feel the best at. But it's just kind of there. Next, we have Runaway Together. It is 2 mana. It's an instant. It says choose 2 target creatures by different players. Return those creatures to their owner's hand. Runaway Together is always very solid and Limited. I mean, it's a solid card in general. I believe, I'm pretty sure it's banned right now in Standard. I could be wrong about that. I'll look that up before posting this video, and I'll let you know. But yeah, I'm almost sure that Runaway Together is banned, and there's a reason why. I mean, it's a powerful 2 mana spell. Let's say that your opponent lays down one of these enchantments that, gets rid of your creature or something like that. Well, you can, just return that creature to your hand. It gets rid of their enchantment, and then you can place the creature back down. It gets rid of your opponent's best creature. So if they have something that's getting in your way, you can just get rid of it. You can get rid of something that you don't really care about to then be able to swing in for lethal. It's a very solid common. You're going to be very happy to have at least one of these in your deck. Next, we have Shrine Striker. It is for 6 mana, including 2 in blue. It's an elemental that's flying. It has Vivid. When this creature enters, draw cards equal to the number of colors among permanents you control. So Vivid, if you don't know, is like one of those. It's a new mechanic. It just means that like however many permanents you have that are in different colors, that's the Vivid ability. It's like, how many different colors do you have? So this one says that you can you get to draw cards equal to the number of colors you control. So again, I think like even in a 2-color deck, this blue creature is going to feel a little bit better because let's say like you have 2 colors. Well, that makes this a 4 mana 3/3 flying where you get to draw a card or draw 2 cards. That's going to feel really, really good. So even in like decks where like I don't think Vivid's going to really pop off. If you are able to get to like 3 colors or 4 colors, like if you get to 3 colors and you're able to pay 3 mana for a flying 3/3 that helps you draw 3 cards, that's going to be insane. You're going to feel incredible doing that. So yeah, I'm much higher on these Vivid cards than I have seen in other ones, just because they go good by themselves. Where there's a lot of Vivid cards that if you don't at least have like 3 of color, 4 of color, they're really going to feel bad. So I think this is a great card. You're going to be happy to take this even in a 2-color deck. Next, we have Silver Guild Mentor. It is 2 mana. It is a Merfolk Wizard. It says an additional cast that costs this spell, behold a Merfolk, or pay 2. When this creature enters, create a 1/1 white and blue Merfolk creature token. So a 4 mana 2/1 that also gives you a 1/1 is a little understated. It does put 2 bodies on there. They do share the creature type, so that's good. But it's not going to feel great. Now this one, unlike the other Behold that we saw earlier, you don't have to exile it. So I mean, if you're in the right deck and you have the Merfolks around, you're going to be able to lay this down on turn 2, and that's going to feel absolutely incredible. Like if you can lay this down on turn 2, either you already have like a turn 1 Merfolk in play, or you have one in your hand, and then you have a 2/1 and a 1/1 on turn 2. That's going to feel really, really strong. And in the late game, you're obviously going to have the Merfolk laying around, and then you can just lay down for 2. It helps build up your board state. You can swing in with it. I think this is a great comment overall. Like, yeah, the floor, like having to pay 4 mana for a 2/1 and a 1/1 is not great. Like, you're not going to want to do that. But if you have to, like in a pinch, like, you will. And it'll still like hopefully help you stabilize, especially in blue, where you can kind of like, hope that you can draw into something that'll help you tempo back into the game. I think it's a very solid uncommon. Next, we have Silver Guild Peddler. It is 3 mana. It's a Merfolk Citizen. It says when this creature becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. So a 3 mana 2/3 is a little understated. There is a lot of Convoke stuff going on. There is a lot of Merfolk that lets you tap another untapped creature, and I think that's going to make this feel a lot better. I think it's a solid card. Like, you'll play it, be happy with it, you'll cut it, and feel fine about doing that as well. Next up, we have Spell Snare. It is 1 blue. It's an instant. It says counter target spell with mana value 2. This card's not really here for limited. This is more for like modern and stuff like that. It's way too situational. I mean, it has to be mana value 2. So it can't even counter like a 1 mana spell or a 3 mana spell. It's just very situational. It's not in here for limited. You can pass on it. Next up, we have Stratosaur. It is 5 mana. It's an elemental. It's got flying. It says when this creature enters, target creature gains flying until end of turn. Basic land cycling. So basic land cycling means you can pay 1 and a blue. You can discard this card, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So this is interesting. I do think it's a card that you're going to need if you're trying to do like vivid things. I think its enters ability is decent. Like, it's decently statted. It's a solid common. The basic land cycling, like, you do have to have blue, and I think that makes it less good. Like, if it was just too generic and you could cycle this away, it would be a lot better. But the fact that you already have to have blue mana, even to just basic land cycling, I think that makes it less good. It's going to be a very situational card, like for your vivid decks, for your elemental decks, and things like that. It's going to feel great in those kind of decks, but a lot of times you're going to be able to pass on it, or there's just something more powerful. And again, I think the basic land cycling, having to have like a second color, just a basic land cycle, makes it a lot worse. Next, we have Summon Sentinel. It is 2 mana. It's an elemental soldier. It says when this creature dies, draw a card, and it's a 1/3. I think this is a solid card. You're going to really like it in your elemental deck. It's a solidly statted 2 mana 1/3. It just kind of can like help block in the early game, and then when it's outserved its purpose and it goes away, you get to draw a card off of it. It replaces itself. I think that makes it a card that you're going to take pretty often, and you're going to enjoy it, especially if you can get into your elemental decks. Next, we have Sunderflock. It is it is 9 mana, 7 generic and 2 in blue. It's an elemental. It says this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest mana value among elements you control. It has flying. It says when this creature enters, if you cast it, return all non-elemental creatures to their owner's hand. This card is incredible. You are going to love this in an elemental deck. You're going to love it outside of an elemental deck. Like, even if this is the only thing, even if this is like your only elemental card and you have to remove your whole board as well, you still have a 5/5 flyer in the air. Elementals are prominent in this set, but they're not as prominent. I will say, like, some of the larger bombs in this set, like, they are elemental. So, like, there is a world where it's not as good as, like, maybe I'm looking at this card with like rose-colored glasses, and I'm just imagining a world where like your opponent has like a bunch of Kifkin and Merfolks, and you're just able to completely wipe the board. Whereas, like, if you're able to wipe the board, but they still leave like 1 or 2 elementals back, do keep in mind there are a lot of changelings as well. So, like, those will stick around. But I think, let's say that you're in an elemental deck, you have like a 2 mana elemental laying around. Well, then it's still 7 mana, so that's not great. But if it's like 3 or 4 or anything like that, and you start to get like more and more higher value out of it, it's going to feel even better. I do think that you have to have something going on with elementals. Like I said, if this is your only elemental card, yeah, you'll still play it, but like it's going to be really, really hard to get up to 9 mana in limited. So, that makes it less good. Like you need some sort of elemental going on to, I think, really make it pop. And I think that holds it back from being just like a straight up bomb. But like, it's so good that like I'm going to give it the upside. You're not going to feel good to play against this card. If you let your opponent get to 9 mana and they're able to put this down, or they have elements going on and you don't, like, they're just going to win the game with the card. Next up, we have Swataway. It is 4 mana. It's an instant, says the spell costs 2 generic less to cast if a creature is attacking you. The owner of target spell or creature puts it on their choice of the top or bottom of their library. We see these 4 mana, like, opponent gets to choose where it goes in every single set. They always overperform. This one's going to be no different. It's going to feel incredible when you only have to play double blue to do it. But even if you have to play 4 in a pinch, like, it just creates a lot of tempo. I think a lot of people are coming around on these cards. Like, we've just seen so many of them in a row where they're a lot better. But the thing is, you can still usually get them really late. At least this one is an uncommon. In the past, we're seeing them at like common, and you can almost always get them. So you might need to value this one a little bit higher than you would have in the past. It's just a great card because, again, like, it's not like you're actually putting your opponent at a big disadvantage, because unlike a bounce spell where it goes to their hand, they actually have to choose. Like, either they put it at the top of their hand and they get to draw it again, or like they put it on the bottom and it's just gone. So I mean, it is like a straight up removal spell. Like, it feels better. It can help you tempo. It can help you close out games. It's a great card. Next up, we have Seg, Wonderwine Wisdom. It is a 2 mana. It's a legendary creature, Merfolk's Wizard. Seg cannot be blocked. It says, whenever this creature enters or transforms into Seg Wonderwine Wisdom, target creature gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player planeswalker, draw a card until end of turn. At the beginning of your first main phase, you can pay a white, and if you do, you can transform Sig. On the backside, it states, Sig can't be blocked. Whenever this creature transforms into Sig Wonderbrine Shield, target creature you control gains hexproof from each color until your next turn. At the beginning of your first main phase, you may pay blue if you do transform Sig. So yeah, I think this card's really good. You're going to be happy with either side of this. Like, if you're needing to out-tempo your opponent, then like you'll pay you'll keep it on the blue side, and you'll just target a creature that maybe is a flyer or something that you can get in, and then you get to draw off the card. You can also just kind of like use this card to flip it over on the white side, and then, like, let's say that you have a bigger creature that's already out there, or you have a good attack that like can't be blocked because it's going to have protection from everything. You'll just be able to swing in and like close out the game. I think on either side you're going to be happy. It's a great 2-drop to have. It's definitely like one of the best cards in the set. Definitely one of the best blue cards for sure. Next up, we have Painful Rim Speaker. It is 4 mana. It's an elemental wizard. It says, whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, draw a card. We've already talked about the 4 mana cards. Like, this one is a 4 mana card, but it doesn't count itself because it's like, you're casting it. So, like, I don't think you're going to have a lot of 4-drops to make this really pop, especially if this is one of your 4-drops. Because, I mean, keep in mind, like, the mana curve is just so important and limited. Like, you need to have like lower drops. I don't know how many 4 mana or better cards you're even going to be able to have in your set. Like, I think it was a big swing, especially doing it in like a color pair that's not green. I just don't. I think it's going to be held back because you might be able to get this trigger to go off once. But with that being said, even if you are able to get it to go off once, like you're going to feel pretty good about that. However, I mean, 4 mana, 2/4, it's under mana value. So like when I say under mana value, typically you want like if you have a 4 mana card, you want the creature to have at least a total power and toughness. So like it can be like a 3/5, it can be a 4/4, it can be a 5/3. Like, but you just want it to have like at least double the mana value. So like it's an under mana valued card. That's what I mean by that. And I just think that there's other cards that are a lot better. And I don't really think that there's a world where you're getting this ability to activate too many times. Next, we have Temporal Cleansing. It is for 4 mana. It's a sorcery. It has Convoke. It says the owner or target non-land permanent puts it into their library second from the top or on the bottom. So it does look like we have 2 cards in this set that allows your opponent to choose. Again, like these are straight up removal spells. Your opponent is not getting anything out of this. They're actually going to a disadvantage because either they're drawing the same card over again and they have to recast it, or they're deciding like, okay, it wasn't that great and they're going to put it at their bottom. And at that point, it's just a straight up removal spell. I think this is great. The fact that it's a common and there's an uncommon. Again, I've said it earlier, just reviewing blue. I think blue is going to be very annoying to play against. Like all the blue mages that have been eyeballing this set, you all are going to have the time of your life. But as players like me, who we don't like the blue mages as much, I think this format's maybe not as much for me as it is for you all. But it's going to be fun to play it. This is a great common. You're going to pick it. You're going to enjoy at least having one of these in your deck. Next up, we have Thirst for Identity. It's 3 mana. It's an instant. It says draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard a creature card. These are solid. If it's late in the game and you have ample amounts of creatures, you might be okay with letting one go just to get more card advantage. Maybe you're looking for the removal spell to get in for lethal or just one in particular threat. In the earlier part of the game, it's just loot, 3 mana to draw 3 and then discard 2. Because keep in mind, it's any discard 2. So like if you're flooding out, you can get rid of 2 lands. If you have too many creatures, then again, you're just getting rid of the 1 creature anyways when you do this. And hopefully you've drawn into those lands, drawing the 3 cards. I think this is a great uncommon. You're going to be very happy with it. Next up, we have Unexpected Assistance. It's 5 mana, including 2 in blue. It has Convoke. It says draw 3 cards, then discard a card. So 5 mana to draw 3 cards and discard a card is already like okay. Like if you have nothing to do with all your mana and that's what you leave open because you're in blue, like your opponent's going to be hesitant anyways. Like what do they have? What could they have? And maybe they're playing a little bit more timid and you're able to just cast this for the 5 mana, draw 3 cards, and then discard like a land that you don't need or something like that. And that's going to feel great. If you're like if your opponent's kind of already ahead and you need to get caught up and you have the creatures and you're able to convoke this, you're going to feel really happy about that as well. I think Convoke really like helps this card out a lot. I think it's a solid playable like common card that you'll be able to get later in the draft. So it's a solid card. Next up, we have Unwelcome Spirit. It's 2 mana. It's a fairy rogue. It has flying. It says when you cast a spell during your opponent's turn, surveil 2. So a 2 mana flying 2/1. That's a pretty solid card. We saw one. I can't remember what set it was in, but it was a couple sets back where there was like a 2 mana 2/1, and it entered with a stun counter on it, and it still performed pretty well. So the fact that this one is a 2 mana 2/1 flying and it doesn't have that stun counter on it, and when you cast stuff on your opponent's turn, you get to surveil 2. Like that's going to be huge, especially in the fairy deck. We've already seen like a ton of flash. There's a ton of flash. There's a ton of instant. There's a ton of convoke abilities. Again, I can't stress this enough. I think blue is going to be one of the better colors. It just seems like they have a lot of tempo stuff going on. They have a lot of mind games you can play with your opponent. This is a great card. You're going to be very happy to play it. Next up, we have Wonderwine Distractor. It's 4 mana. It's a Merfolk Wizard. It says, whenever this creature becomes tapped, target creature an opponent controls gets -3/-0 until end of turn. So a 4 mana 4/3, not the greatest card in the world. Now, again, there is a world because of the Merfolk and where they have so many creatures that like you can tap an untapped creature. There is Convoke and things like that. It makes this card better. I think it's one of those cards where like you'll take it or leave it. Like, you're not going to feel bad if you have to play it, but you're not going to feel great if you do either. It's just kind of a card that's like, it exists. It'll be there. It'll help you fill out your curve if you need it to, but I think it's going to be on the chopping block a lot. Next up, we have Wonderwine Farewell. It is 7 mana. It's a Kindred Sorcery Merfolk. It has Convoke. It says return 1 or 2 target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. Then if you control Merfolk, create a 1/1 white and blue Merfolk creature token for each permanent returned to its owner's hand this way. So, if you had to pay the full 7 mana for this, like if the game goes late, you pay 7 mana, you get 2/1/1s, you get rid of their two biggest threats, and then like maybe it opens up in a world where you can attack in and maybe close out the game. That's going to feel really good. If your opponent's kind of like already ahead of curve and you're trying to get back up to parity and you have the convoke ability, now keep in mind like it is a sorcery. So like some of the best convoke abilities are the instants because you can do them without having any mana up at all. This one, like even if you're convoking, but you have to do it on your turn. So like if you're trying to remove some of their threats, but because the only way to do it is to return them to their hand and you've got to tap out completely to, make that happen, then the 2/1/1s are going to have summoning sickness. Like you're not going to be able to attack in. It's going to feel less good. I think this card is fine. Like even in a Merfolk deck, like I don't think it's something great. I don't think it's bad, but it's not good. Like it's just kind of there. Because it's the sorcery. Now, if it was an instant, it would be broken. That's probably why they had to make it a sorcery. Because like if this card was like an instant, then you would play it every single time. It'd be one of the greatest cards. So there's reasons to sorcery. It does hold it back a lot. But again, like in your whatever deck, whether it's a Merfolk deck or not, like whatever blue deck you're in, if you're trying to fill out your curve, you'll take it. And the last card we're going to be looking at today is going to be Wild Unraveling. It is 2 blue mana. It's an instant. It says as an additional cost to cast a spell, blight 2 or pay 1. Counter target spell. So a 3 mana counter spell, not the best. The fact that it's like 2 blue as well, like your opponents are going to be able to like snuff that out pretty easily because they're going to see like, okay, they have 2 blue mana up. Like, what are they doing? Again, I think like there's so much tempo stuff going on in blue. Like I think this card is going to be better than like we've seen in the past because unlike other blue sets where like maybe there's only like 1 or 2 creatures that like have flash or like 1 instant that's a counter spell. There's just so many counter spells. There's so many convoke stuff. There's so much flash going on. Like I think a lot of people are going to have to play chicken with blue and just hope that like, they come out on top. So I do think like maybe 1 copy in the right deck. I mean, it is a common. So like, you're going to see this going around the table. Like there might be a deck where you would be happy to have at least 1 copy. I think anything more than that. And it's just kind of like spinning the wheels too much. But like it's a playable, like you won't feel bad for cutting it. You won't feel bad for having it in your deck. And that's going to wrap us up for blue. Again, if you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe. Everything that you all do helps the channel grow and helps me become a better Magic player along the way. I hope this helps you out with your local game store. If you're going out for pre-release, I wish you all the best of luck. And I help you get prepared for the first time that drafting this. Let me know in the comments any pulls you get, anything special, how the deck performed. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be on the lookout for the next one. We'll be doing black, and we will have that out shortly.